Hi everybody, this is Luke, and this is going to be the second part of a previous video where we talked about the EggRider, more specifically about the EggRider app and how you can leverage those features to customize your build. If you haven't done yet, I highly suggest you to see that content first, since we're going to address some topics that we already discussed there. As I said earlier, the EggRider is a great companion when combined with the Bafang kit. The amount of extra information provided compared to other displays and the variety of extra features that it adds to our experience is, in my opinion, worth the upgrade. In the last video I explained the fundamental steps to configure the EggRider to make it work with the BBS Bafang motor. That explanation is still valid, but I think some of those features need a more in-depth analysis, and that's what we're gonna do in this video. Let's talk about the setup process. When you go on the EggRider site to order your new display, there is a drop-down menu which will let you select your e-bike. This matters because, as I showed you before, the display supports many cable interfaces. With my review unit I received two cables, one with a male 5-pin green connector, used on some up motor controllers, and one with the female 5-pin green termination, compatible with our beloved Bafang mid-drive motor. Not only that, by the way, choosing the right bike type will allow the EggRider team to initialize your display accordingly, also selecting the right protocol for you. This means that you shouldn't see any no ASI settings issue the first time you connect the display, as it happened in my case. Another tip I can share, just in case you face any issue related to the protocol selection, is just to long press the buttons M and power when the display is off until it turns itself on. This way you will trigger the auto detection of the protocol, allowing the display to get this information directly from your controller. About this topic, let's discuss now the way the EggRider communicates with your e-bike. As you may know, your e-bike's controller, like in many other electric vehicles, saves its configuration onto EEPROM memories. This type of memory can be written to and erased many times, but its lifespan is limited. Typically around 10,000 to a million write cycles before it starts degrading. Repeated writes to the same memory cells cause wear over time. This matters, especially if data is constantly updated. Many people prefer not to write so many times because it can speed up this wear process, reducing storage reliability. Even though, if you do the math, it's still in the realm of 5 to 10 years before you could actually break it. Nonetheless, to address this concern, EggRider allows you to choose between two types of operational modes. And don't worry, the default one is the conservative one. I briefly mentioned those in the last video, but I believe it deserves a little more clarity. The default one is called Live Data Only. This way the display will communicate with the controller as any other display. It won't flash any configuration if you switch riding mode. And you are still able to use your EggRider to configure your e-bike, if you like you will do with the Bafang configuration tool. The second operational mode is the one I showed in the last video. It's called Live Data and Settings. This will reflash your controller when you switch riding mode, but has the advantage of reprogramming current and speed levels on the go, with just one button. Now you know the difference between the two, so feel free to go on and choose your poison. Anyway, one thing is clear, with the EggRider, whichever operational mode you choose, you don't actually need to own a programming cable to access all that your Bafang kit has to offer. Another thing worth mentioning is the effect of setting the limited current ampere, as I showed in the last video. If you remember, I used the setting to limit the maximum ampere that the motor will demand from your battery. Well, there's nothing wrong with the setting itself, but when you start combining it with the assist level limited current percentage, you're actually setting a percentage on that limited current. For instance, if at assist level 9 I set 50%, I will actually get 50% of the 15 ampere declared above. For this reason, my suggestion, and also the hint from EggRider itself, by the way, thanks George for all explanations, is to simply rely on the assist level limited current percentage and avoid messing around with the limited current. The fundamental reason is that if you change the limited current on the fly by changing riding mode, like I did, the controller might change the value but may not consider the change until you restart it, even if the display is showing you the updated value that you intended. In short, the general advice is to keep only for that option the same for both road and off-road riding modes. There you go! If you made it until now, you may consider yourself an expert on how the EggRider works. Congratulations! That's actually still a lot to say about this little smart display, but for this time I believe it's enough to digest. The last suggestion I will leave you with is, if you haven't done yet, to subscribe to the channel. The next review will probably be about the EggRider C1, and that's gonna be a lot to say. So stay tuned, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.
Ma come cacchio si rinomina sto display? Ci sarà un modo? Eh? Eccolo! Ecco qua, mannaggia chi te...